So in my last video, I talked about the first of 7 habits of a healthy heart, fears God, not man. And today's habit that we're looking at is the second habit, an attitude of gratitude. We're here in 1 Thessalonians 5:16 to 18. Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Paul, who wrote these words, had suffered great persecution, and yet he had learned the power of giving thanks. Acts 16:25 tells us that at midnight in prison, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns and giving thanks to God. When I travelled with a team for an Emmaus Walk in Fiji, it became clear what a difference having an attitude of gratitude made to me. The conditions for the weekend were far different to what we Australians were used to. No hot water for showers, no running water after 8 p.m. at night. I was in quite a bit of pain, and I was inclined to join in with the other complaints that a few made around me. You know what they say, misery loves company. One person even said we would be better off in prison. I wasn't so sure about that. I particularly disliked the cold showers, and my shoulder was killing me, not helped by a very thin mattress. While we struggled with the lack of physical comfort, we still saw God move deeply in the lives of the pilgrims who came for the Emmaus weekend, as they testified to what God had done in their lives. We were there as a ministry team, and a couple of wonderful sisters in the Lord started to talk about thankfulness. I started to thank God for everything I could, and my heart lifted. I started to rejoice that while my shoulder was in a lot of pain, I was still able to function and to do my role on the team, unlike what it would have been if I'd had severe back pain like the couple of times where I had suffered from sciatica. At the end of the weekend, when I moved to a hotel, I wrote a list of all the things that I was thankful for, things that I had so often taken for granted. A comfortable bed, running water after 8 p.m., which meant I could brush my teeth with running water, a hot shower, a bath mat, a cold Coke, hot food that was hot, and cutlery to eat it with, being able to brush my teeth with running water. It's amazing how many blessings we do have that we so often take for granted. I still remember a few weeks after the Emmaus Walk, when most of the electricity at my house blew except for a couple of things, how I was actually able to be thankful for the things that I did have, rather than dwelling and focusing on the things that I didn't. I was able to be thankful that I could boil the kettle to make coffee. Yes, I'm a coffee person. I was thankful that I could still have hot water for a hot shower. I was thankful for running water to brush my teeth. I found myself rejoicing and being thankful for what I did have. And I'm pretty sure if this had happened before I'd gone to Fiji and God had shown me the power in gratitude and thankfulness, it would have been a much different story. The Israelites were miraculously delivered out of Egypt by God. In Egypt, they were captives and slaves, lived in poverty. God miraculously brought them out of their situation and provided in an amazing way, yet they still found it difficult to put their trust in Him and grumbled against Him time and time again. There is a very strong message warning in Numbers 14:36 to 37 about grumbling against the Lord. So the men Moses had sent to explore the land, who returned and made the whole community grumble against him by spreading a bad report about it, These men who were responsible for spreading the bad report about the land were struck down and died of a plague before the Lord. The men that went out to spy the land were actually leaders. At a pastors' conference I attended overseas, the speaker admonished the group of leaders gathered to be kind to the kitchen staff. They had to be asked not to complain about the food they were given or demand a certain amount. Those of us who are called to be leaders have a real responsibility to lead people into an attitude of gratitude by the example that we set. In the same way that children will follow what parents do far more than what they teach, those we are entrusted to care for will follow our example. Having a grateful heart will lead you to be thankful for the good things. You can always find them if you look. Being thankful for things increases your overall sense of well-being. It's so easy to focus on the negatives, but grumbling will always bring death to joy and happiness. Cognitive behavior therapy is listed as one of the most effective forms of treatment for both depression and anxiety. The way we think greatly influences the way we feel. This is why it's so important to develop an attitude of gratitude, to give thanks in all things. Even the secular world recognizes that gratitude, thankfulness, improves our physical and mental health by the chemicals that are released in our bodies, known as the mind-body connection. You can find a host of articles on this. Many psychological websites write about it. Manhattan Mental Health Counseling writes, gratitude can be cultivated, just like healthy eating habits, exercise, or meditation. Gratitude is a practice. Living a more satisfying and pleasurable life is possible. More gratitude is a big part of that. Cultivating gratitude keeps us mentally resilient. In times of adversity and emotional turmoil, practicing gratitude acts as a psychological booster, one that does not let us sink too low. I want to go back to the example of Paul and Silas set in Acts 16, where they were praying and singing hymns to God. The account tells us that suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were open. They were shaken. And immediately all the doors were opened and everyone's shackles were loosened. Praying and singing hymns to God led to the foundations of the prison being shaken and freedom. Gratitude will lead to freedom from a host of negative emotions. You will be set free from being a prisoner of despair. It will lead to renewed joy for life when it comes from the heart. We can't just do it as an action. It has to really come from our hearts. So we can choose to complain and remain in our misery, or to praise and be raised and lifted out of it. We remember Proverbs 18 verse 21 tells us, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Every word we speak is powerful. So we can choose to speak words that will bring death to ourselves or words that will bring life to ourselves. Key thought, an attitude of gratitude leads to increased joy, peace, and contentment. Take care and God bless.